In a remote corner of northern Tanzania, a landscape so colossal it seems to mock the very idea of a horizon unfolds to infinity. The local Maasai people, whose ancestors have walked this land for generations, have a name for it: Serengeti, a word that poetically translates to the place where the earth stretches forever. This is the Serengeti, a UNESCO World Heritage Site spanning nearly 200 square miles. But it is much more than a park. It is a world that operates on a different clock, a primordial realm where ancient cycles of life and death have turned deeply unchanged for over 1 million years. This is not just a sanctuary for animals. It is one of the last truly intact ecosystems on our planet, and its survival depends on a secret hidden just beneath the sun-baked soil. What grants this land its extraordinary vitality is no mere accident of nature, but a powerful confluence of geological and climatic forces stretching back into deep time. The key to the Serengeti's immense productivity, its ability to support such an impressive concentration of life, is a gift from the Earth's violent volcanic heart. Millennia of ash fall, carried like precious dust by the wind from the nearby Ngorongoro crater and the distant colossal peaks of Meru and Kilimanjaro. Els have continuously enriched the soil. This mineral wealth, combined with a unique rainfall pattern that moves from the arid plains in the southeast to the moist hills in the northwest, cultivates one of the most productive grassland ecosystems imaginable. Here, a diverse community of grasses thrives, from the short, sweet, bearing and nutritious Sporobolus on the southern plains to the taller and coarser red oat grass in the northern woodlands. This geological fertility is the silent, invisible engine driving it all. But how does volcanic dust translate into the thunderous roar of a lion? And what if I told you the secret to a lion's power isn't its muscle, but this? This is not just dirt, it's a superfood. Volcanic ash makes the grass incredibly rich in minerals, creating the most nutritious food on the continent. The energy that fuels 1 million wildebeests and, in turn, the lion that hunts them starts right here. It's a food chain built on a foundation of stardust. This fertile soil is the unspoken first link in a food chain of epic proportions. It nourishes the growth of incredibly nutritious grasses that, in turn, support the largest single gathering of hoofed mammals on Earth, an impressive and restless collective of over 2 million wildebeests, zebras, and gazelles. This unmatched biomass of herbivores is the foundation that sustains the highest concentration of large predators on the African continent. Every hunt, every chase, every dramatic confrontation between a stealthy hunter and its desperate prey has its origins not in a flash of tooth and claw, but in the ancient and silent chemistry of volcanic rock. The story of the Serengeti is written in the soil and lived by its millions of inhabitants. And it all begins when a dramatic shift in the sky awakens the sleeping earth. For months, the Serengeti has been clenched in the grip of a harsh, dry season. A fine, penetrating dust covers every surface, and the relentless sun has bleached the grasses to a fragile, skeletal gold. Herds of elephants dig into dry riverbeds searching for water, while solitary giraffes stretch their elegant necks to reach the last remaining leaves on the acacias. But then, a subtle change begins. The air grows heavy, charged with an expectant, electric energy. On the distant horizon, towering anvil clouds begin to form, their dark bruised bases a stern warning against the pale sky. This is the promise of the short rains, arriving between November and December to trigger a radical and dazzling transformation. When the first fat drops finally fall, they hiss on the parched earth. The dust that choked the landscape is instantly subdued, and the thirsty soil drinks with insatiable greed. The monochrome ochre world suddenly blushes with an emerald green, faint at first, then vibrant. The great herds, having endured the dry months in the most reliable pastures of the north, feel this change deeply in their bones. An irresistible, instinctive force pulls them south, a primal pilgrimage guided by an almost supernatural ability to sense lightning and hear thunder from over 31 miles away. They are following the rain, but they are being drawn to something even deeper, in the stage for nature's most overwhelming spectacle. Drawn by this life-giving water, colossal herds arrive on the southern plains near Ndutu to find their sanctuary. The choice of this specific location is a masterpiece of evolutionary strategy. First, the volcanic soil here produces the most nutritious grasses on the continent, exceptionally rich in calcium and phosphorus, vital for nursing mothers and the rapid, robust growth of their calves. Second, the vast open terrain offers a crucial advantage: visibility. In a landscape where predators like lions and hyenas rely on stealth and cover, these open spaces make a surprise attack almost impossible. What follows is one of the most synchronized and inspiring events in the natural world. Within an incredibly narrow window of just 2 to 3 weeks, an explosion of new life bursts across the plains. Over 500,000 wildebeest calves are born, averaging 8,000 new lives entering the world each day. This is a survival strategy through sheer overwhelming numbers. By all being born at once, the calves overwhelm the hunting capacity of resident predators. There are simply too many targets for lions, hyenas, and cheetahs to catch them all, ensuring the vast majority survive their most vulnerable first days. A newborn calf is a miracle of instinct. Slippery and unsteady, it tries to stand minutes after birth. Its mother licks it vigorously, stimulating circulation while memorizing its unique scent. A bond. An olfactory bond so absolute, she will reject any calf that is not hers. On skinny, trembling legs, the calf steadies itself. Within a day, it can gallop with the herd's rhythm, a skill that means the difference between life and a quick, dull death. Yet this sudden and impressive abundance of life does not go unnoticed. And for the hunters of the Serengeti, it signals that the great feast has finally begun. For a pride of lions resting in the dappled shade of a scattered acacia, the calving season is a time of relative abundance. As the most social of all big cats, their complex family structure is key to their dominance. Their lives are a rhythm of extremes. They can spend up to 20 hours a day in a state of deep lethargy, conserving every ounce of energy for the hunt. The lionesses, a sisterhood of mothers, daughters, and aunts, are the pride's primary hunters. The sudden influx of vulnerable wildebeest calves provides easy prey, a welcome relief from the dangerous work of facing a 2-ton buffalo or a powerful kicking adult zebra. As twilight spreads across the sky, a lead lioness rises. With a subtle flick of her tail and a focused gaze, she signals her intent. They move out, their tawny coats blending perfectly with the tall grass. Fanning out, they coordinate an attack to isolate a single calf from its mother. The final sprint is a blur of muscle and speed, the kill made with a precise, suffocating bite. Once the prey is down, the pride's strict hierarchy asserts itself. The dominant male, the magnificent black-maned monarch whose main duty is to defend his territory from rivals, steps forward to claim the lion's share. His roars are not just displays of power but acoustic fences, warning nomadic males that this territory is occupied. He feasts first, followed by the lionesses, and finally the cubs, who scramble for leftovers, learning the brutal rules of their world. Do you see that magnificent male, the king? What if the true power in this pride lies somewhere else, entirely? He is the symbol, the defender, but the engine of the pride is the sisterhood. It is the collective knowledge of the lionesses, their cooperative hunting, and shared maternal care that dictates whether this dynasty thrives or starves. He may wear the crown, but they command the kingdom. But while lions thrive on collective power, this season of plenty presents a far more dangerous reality for a solitary hunter who must raise her cubs in the shadow of these kings. For a cheetah, this period of apparent prosperity is paradoxically one of the most treacherous times of her life. Her whole being is the antithesis of the lion. She is a creature built for explosive speed, not conflict. Her slender, lightweight frame makes her terribly vulnerable in a landscape patrolled by prides of lions and formidable clans of hyenas. With a new litter of cubs hidden in a tall grass den, her life becomes an endless exercise in anxiety and vigilance. Forced to hunt during the day to avoid her more powerful nocturnal competitors, she uses termite mounds as lookout towers. Her sharp eyes scan the horizon not just for prey, but for ever-present danger. The greatest threat to her cubs is not hunger, but other predators. Lions will kill cheetah cubs without hesitation to eliminate future competition, and the cub mortality rate here is devastatingly high. Consequently, the mother lives a nomadic and nervous existence, constantly moving her cubs from one secret hiding place to another, desperate not to leave a scent trail. Every hunt is a high-stakes gamble, a desperate race to secure a meal for her cubs before she is discovered. For the mother cheetah, the green season is not a feast, but a relentless test of courage, where the future of her lineage hangs by the most fragile thread. Lurking in the tall grasses and shaded forests is another hunter, often misunderstood but ruthlessly proficient, the spotted hyena. Far from being just a mere scavenger, the hyena is the Serengeti's most successful large carnivore. They are organized into large, complex clans, governed by a strict matriarchal hierarchy, with a formidable alpha female leading them all. Their famous loud laugh is actually a long-distance call, used to gather clan members for a hunt or to defend their vast territory during the breeding season. Hyenas are in their element. Hunting mainly at night, they operate with eerie coordination, testing the edges of wildebeest herds for any sign of weakness. Their endurance is legendary. They are pursuit predators, capable of running after their prey for many miles. Unlike felines, which kill with a suffocating bite, hyenas overpower their victims through sheer strength and their incredibly powerful jaws, which can crush bones to dust. Their success rate often exceeds that of lions, leading to an ancient and bitter rivalry. The two species are locked in a perpetual struggle for resources, frequently stealing kills from each other in violent and chaotic confrontations. A large hyena clan can easily drive off a small group of lionesses from a carcass, a testament to their power and tenacity. Among this cast of incredible predators, there is one whose strategy is based on a level of altruistic cooperation almost unique in the animal kingdom, the African wild dog. Sometimes called the painted wolf for its kaleidoscopic coat, it is a fleeting ghost of the plains. Critically endangered, their presence in the Serengeti is a precious and rare sight. They live in tightly knit packs that function as a single superorganism, led by an alpha pair. Their hunts are marvels of teamwork and communication, using bird-like chirps to coordinate their movements as they flush out and chase gazelles. Their lean bodies are built for endurance, not just speed. But what really sets them apart is what happens after a successful hunt. The pups always get to eat first, and injured or sick pack members are cared for and fed by their companions. A level of altruism rarely seen among carnivores. Their existence here is precarious, threatened by disease and competition from larger predators. Yet, during this brief and abundant season, they also find a window of opportunity, a precious chance to raise their pups and continue their tenuous hold on this eternal and relentless land. So, what makes these painted wolves so different from all the other hunters here? It is a paradox that makes them brilliant survivors and, incredibly, fragile. Their altruism is almost absolute. The pack feeds the pups first. They care for their sick. But this same social glue, this deep intimacy, means that a single disease can sweep through a pack like wildfire. Their greatest strength is also their greatest vulnerability. While the great migratory herds capture the world's attention, the Serengeti also hosts a vast array of permanent residents, each with its own clever strategy to thrive year-round. Scattered throughout the forest, elegant herds of impalas move with liquid grace. These antelopes are versatile feeders, able to switch between grazing on fresh grass and browsing on leaves, an adaptive advantage that allows them to flourish as the landscape changes. During the mating season, the acacia woodlands echo with the harsh, repetitive bellows of dominant males as they fiercely defend their territories. Their primary defense against the cheetahs and leopards that haunt these forests is an astonishing display of explosive agility. When threatened, they burst into the air in high, unpredictable arcs, a chaotic ballet designed to completely confuse a pursuing predator. In the taller grasslands, you'll find the topi, a large, handsome antelope with a distinctive purplish sheen to its coat, like oiled leather. Topis are highly social creatures, and you'll often see a lone individual standing as a vigilant sentinel atop an imposing termite mound, its elevated position providing a commanding view of the surroundings. This behavior makes it a reliable safety indicator, and other grazing animals like warthogs and zebras often find comfort in its calm presence. As pure grazers, the green season is the time to build crucial fat reserves needed to endure the coming months of scarcity. But even they are overshadowed by the most colossal of their kind, the giant eland. A more elusive and powerful resident, these shy giants roam in small herds. Their magnificent spiral horns are a formidable defense. Unlike most other bovids, they are prodigious jumpers, effortlessly clearing obstacles over 5 feet tall, a surprising feat of grace for such a massive animal. Not all residents, however, can afford to stray far from the lifeblood of the plains, especially as the dry season approaches. Near the waterways and swamps that give life, the shaggy-coated puku is a common sight. As its name suggests, it is tied to water, which it uses as an immediate refuge from predators. A greasy, waterproof secretion covers its thick coat, giving it a distinctive musky odor that is rumored to be unpleasant to some hunters, although Serengeti lions and hyenas readily attack them when the opportunity arises. While resident herbivores thrive, the green season triggers a population boom at every level of the ecosystem, a cacophony of life rising from the ground to the sky. The air vibrates with the calls of birds. The Kori bustard, Africa's heaviest flying bird, strides across the plains like a feathered dinosaur, while the long-legged Seriema roams the grass, dispatching venomous snakes with powerful stomps of its feet. akin to karate strikes. Above all, an army of insects is hard at work. Termite mounds, towering like earthen cathedrals, house millions of tiny engineers who aerate the soil. Yet the most vital of all are the dung beetles. Arriving by the thousands, they descend on the fresh droppings of the great herds, tirelessly rolling and burying the dung. This seemingly humble act is of monumental importance, recycling vital nutrients back into the soil and ensuring the plains will be fertile when the herds return. Within the herd of 1 million animals around April and May, when the long rains finally cease, a palpable restlessness settles over the gnus, the southern plains that had sustained such an incredible explosion of life. Begin to dry, and the first pangs of thirst awaken an ancient instinct. The herds gather into ever larger masses, their movement shifting inexorably northwestward. The air, once filled with the bleating of newborns, now buzzes with the guttural roars and grunts of the wildebeest. As the rutting season begins, they establish temporary territories, fiercely defending them. The sound of clashing horns reverberates across the landscape. This surge of competitive, hormonal energy creates a collective momentum, a tide of life growing and forming, ready to propel over 1 million animals into the toughest stage of their journey. The season of abundance has ended, and a great test of endurance is about to begin. The transformation of the landscape is sharp and absolute. The lush green carpet fades to shades of ochre and polished gold. The air becomes thin, carrying the scent of dust. For predators, this change brings a deadly advantage. The sparse vegetation offers superior camouflage, making an ambush much easier. The world has become more transparent, more dangerous for the large herds. This marks the beginning of an epic odyssey spanning nearly 621 miles. The spectacle is on a scale that defies comprehension. Columns of animals, sometimes stretching an impressive 25 miles, march tirelessly forward. A thundering river of life made up of more than 2 million wildebeests and 300,000 zebras. This is not an orderly procession. The migration is a fluid, sometimes chaotic phenomenon, driven by collective intelligence, a desperate and relentless search for water and fresh grazing. In this chaos, the symbiotic relationship between wildebeests and zebras is critical. Zebras often lead because their digestive systems are better equipped to handle tougher grasses, effectively cutting them down to expose the shorter, more nutritious shoots preferred by wildebeests. Every step in this long march is a gamble against thirst and exhaustion. But the greatest dangers are not the elements, but the formidable obstacles directly in their path. This relentless journey north is punctuated by 2 water tests, merciless ones that will eliminate the weak. The old and the unlucky from the strong first is the Grumeti River, but further north, an even greater challenge awaits them. The Mara River is wider, deeper and more treacherous, a final barrier they must cross to reach the life-giving Masai Mara grasslands of Kenya in these murky depths. Lurks one of the planet's oldest predators, the Nile crocodile. These bulky reptiles are masters of ambush. With males exceeding 16 feet in length, their metabolism is so slow they can wait a whole year for this feast. Their jaws, capable of closing with incredible force, are designed not to tear, but to grip a struggling victim with crushing, inescapable pressure. They wait with reptilian patience, their bodies almost entirely submerged until the moment of truth arrives. All witness the violence of the crossing. But what if this annual chaos is actually the secret to a crocodile's incredible longevity? A reptile this size can't afford to hunt every day. Its metabolism is a slow-burning fire. so it waits for this single massive feast. This influx of 250,000 animals is what allows it to survive the other 11 months. It's the energy of an entire year delivered right to its doorstep. Attention on the riverbanks is a physical thing. Herds gather for days, a nervous, restless mass, until the pressure behind or the sheer desperation of some individuals triggers the crossing. The moment they commit to the water is an explosion of panic. The river churns in a frenzy of thrashing limbs, while crocodiles lunge forward with dizzying speed, dragging their prey beneath the surface in a notorious death roll. The cost is extraordinarily high. 250,000 wildebeests and 30,000 zebras will perish during the migration from predation, drowning or being trampled in stampedes, however. Crocodiles are not the only river titans they must face. The river is also home to another giant, whose placid appearance hides a dangerously aggressive nature, the hippopotamus. During the day they gather in large groups, but these seemingly peaceful meetings are ruled by a strict hierarchy. Dominant bulls are fiercely territorial, defending their stretch of river with incredible aggression, using their huge canine tusks as weapons. A frightened or territorial hippo can add another layer of deadly chaos to the already dangerous journey, creating a water blockade from which many will never escape, as the Great Migration thunders across the landscape in a spectacle of colossal scale. Its departure leaves behind a transformed world. The vibrant green fades to a fragile, sun-bleached gold, and a deep silence settles over the plains. But this is not an empty land. For the myriad of expenses that do not participate in the mass exodus, life goes on, and the dry season becomes the ultimate test of resilience, intelligence, and specialized adaptation in the permanent heart of the Serengeti. Along the winding Seronera River Valley, a different kind of drama unfolds. A saying, not by mass movement, but by the deadly arts of stealth and survival. Beginning with the silent appearance, known as the Prince of Darkness. This is the domain of the leopard, a solitary and elusive hunter. He is a true master of camouflage and concealment. The dry and sparse vegetation, which means hardship for many, becomes his greatest ally. His magnificent spotted coat, a mosaic of rosettes and shadows, allows him to dissolve into the dappled light on a thorn tree, or the textured bark of a yellow acacia, making it seem like he can materialize out of nowhere. His hunting technique is a lesson in patience and explosive power. For hours he can remain motionless, watching the movements of a herd of impalas or a solitary Thompson's gazelle. When the moment is right, he begins a chase with such meticulous care that his soft, padded paws make no sound on the dry earth. The final sprint is a devastating blur of muscle and speed, a lethal pounce that ends in the blink of an eye. After a successful hunt, he performs a feat that cements his legendary status. Using his incredible strength pound for pound, he is the most powerful of the big cats. He will haul a carcass sometimes heavier than his own body up into the high branches of a sausage tree or quiver tree. This is not a display of pride. It is a vital survival strategy, a way to secure his hard-earned meal. From the relentless competition of lion prides and hyena clans, who would otherwise steal his prize, in these same riverine woods, a family of elephants moves, and with calm purpose and unhurried pace that seems to defy the harshness of the season. The group is a matriarchal, a complex social unit led by the oldest and most experienced female. She is more than just a leader. She is the living repository of the herd's collective memory, a bank of vital knowledge containing the precise locations of hidden water sources passed down through generations, knowledge that is key to their survival. During the peak of the dry season, her intelligence is profound, their social bonds incredibly complex. Evident in the way they nurture their young and mourn their dead, they communicate over vast distances, using low-frequency rumbles or infrasound vibrations that travel through the ground, and are completely inaudible to the human ear. During the dry season, they become benevolent ecosystem engineers. Using their tusks and powerful feet, they dig into the sandy beds of ephemeral rivers to access underground water, creating wells that will quench the thirst of countless other animals, from baboons and warthogs to birds and insects. Long after the gentle giants have moved on, they are the architects of survival, their actions sustaining a world far beyond their own family unit. Meanwhile, on the vast plains dotted with iconic acacias, a small group of giraffes grazes. With an aura of serene detachment, their extraordinary height, a marvel of evolutionary engineering, grants them exclusive access to a food source far beyond the reach of almost all other herbivores. They feast on acacia leaves fiercely protected by a fortress of vicious thorns. Their long, prehensile, tough, and dexterous tongues are perfectly adapted to navigate this thorny defense. But their height does more than just provide food. It transforms them into the natural sentinels of the savanna. Their elevated viewpoint allows them to spot the subtle flicker of a lion's tail in the grass or the stealthy approach of a cheetah from a great distance. The giraffe's posture of maximum alertness, its rigid body, and intensely fixed gaze on the horizon is a clear and unmistakable sign of danger that other, more vulnerable species like zebras and gnus have learned to interpret and trust. The males, known as bulls, engage in a unique and violent form of combat, called necking, using their immensely powerful heads and necks as living clubs to establish dominance and mating rights. A kick from the powerful legs of a giraffe can crush a lion's skull. A formidable defense that even the king of beasts is cautious to test in the sun-scorched heart of the Serengeti, where the great migration has moved on and a deep silence settles over the plains. Life persists in a more concentrated and intense form. Here among the resident megafauna, survival is a contest of raw power and ancient strategy. One of the most formidable and imposing of these residents is the Cape buffalo. Huge, powerful, and notoriously unpredictable. They are the black-clad titans of the savanna, often found in massive herds that can number in the thousands. A dark, moving sea of muscle and horn against the golden grass, the air around them thick with their scent. A mix of earth and leather, and the sound of their presence is a low, continuous rumble of grunts, the tearing of grass and the percussive thud of 1,000 heavy hooves on the parched earth. As bulk grazers, they are living engines of consumption, requiring vast amounts of forage, and remaining heavily dependent on daily access to water. This dependence restricts their range during the dry season, concentrating them near the few remaining rivers and mud holes. Their hides often hardened in a thick protective layer of mud. Their primary defense is overwhelming strength in numbers, a collective consciousness forged in the face of constant threat. And when threatened by a pride of lions, their only significant natural predator, a herd of buffalo, and will execute a remarkable defensive strategy born of instinct and experience. They form a front, a formidable and impenetrable living wall of sharp horns and massive bodies weighing up to 400 pounds. The most powerful bulls, their heavy horns fused into a solid boss resembling a helmet, face the threat head-on, their gaze a mix of belligerence and cold calculation. They are known to attack in groups, charging predators cooperatively with the force of a locomotive, sometimes injuring and trampling lions that dare to attack them. Many lions have been fatally wounded by a horn or had their bones crushed by a stampede. Vengeful, however, despite all the security of the herd, there are those who walk alone. An old bull past his prime, who has separated from the safety of the group and is considered by many one of the most dangerous animals in Africa. His aggression, no longer tempered by herd dynamics, is fueled by experience and loneliness. And his unpredictable fury is legendary, his reputation well-deserved. They are a vital food source for the lions of the Serengeti. But each hunt is a high-risk gamble and a threat to the pride's life. A brutal negotiation written in tooth and claw and horn, hidden in dense thickets and tangled vegetation, and where the buffalo dare not venture. A more secret and ancient giant makes its home. The black rhinoceros is a relic of a bygone era, a solitary navigator who seems to have stepped out of a prehistoric dream. His entire being is an anachronism, a testament to a world that existed long before the savanna took its modern form. He moves with surprising quietness for his size, feeding on a specialized diet of leaves, branches, and shrubs that he tears off with a dexterous and prehensile upper lip. His vision is notoriously poor, able to discern little more than shapes and shadows, a deficiency more than compensated by an acute sense of hearing and an exceptional sense of smell that can detect the scent of a human carried by the wind from hundreds of yards away. They are largely nocturnal creatures, preferring to rest during the scorching heat of the day in a thicket. Isolated, emerging at dusk when the world cools, a mother rhino is fiercely, almost obsessively protective of her calf, which will stay with her for years. Despite her bulky, tank-like build, a black rhino can charge with surprising speed, reaching over 30 miles per hour in a terrifying burst of explosive power. And her lowered head and pointed horn like a battering ram. Her existence here is a moving story of conservation and conflict. Having been decimated by decades of relentless hunting for their horns, which are mistakenly believed to have medicinal properties in some cultures, they are critically endangered. The horn, made of nothing more than keratin, the same substance as human nails. It became a curse that led this animal, magnificent, to the brink of extinction. The Serengeti represents one of its last true strongholds, a sanctuary where dedicated rangers work tirelessly in a silent battle, and often dangerous, and to protect them from the constant threat of human greed. These rangers patrol vast territories on foot, facing armed poachers and the inherent dangers of the bush, all in a fight to prevent this magnificent and creature from disappearing from the earth forever. In this exposed world, where an animal that survived for millions of years is threatened by modern ignorance, the relationship between these residents and their hunters becomes a raw and relentless negotiation governed by an invisible and powerful force. Yet the cast of hunters patrolling this ancient stage is much broader and more varied than these terrestrial giants. Beyond the main acts of lion, leopard, and hyena, whose dramas of power and territory dominate the plains narrative, a parallel world of predation unfolds daily. This is a secret and perpetual war fought in the sky, in the tall grass, and even beneath the very earth. This is the domain of specialists, the assassins, whose unique evolutionary adaptations have carved out a specific niche in this brutally competitive world. Their hunting methods are not always about brute strength. They rely on precision, ingenuity, and sometimes senses that border on the supernatural. Their stories, often overlooked in the shadow of the big cats, are no less dramatic. and their lives are a testament to the pure diversity of survival strategies that the Serengeti supports. To truly understand this ecosystem, one must look beyond the obvious. Appreciate the silent stalking of the serval, the venomous duel of the secretary bird, or the collective intelligence of the wild dog pack to find the first of these assassins. However, one must look not to the grass where danger is expected, but to the infinite blue void above. A vast vertical savanna where a silent shadow holds the power of life and death in its control. High above the savanna, circling on broad, motionless wings, this shadow belongs to a true titan of the sky. This is the martial eagle, the largest and most powerful eagle in all of Africa, with a wingspan that can exceed 8 feet. It is a top aerial predator, a feathered hunter of such formidable skill that it can instill fear in animals. Often its own weight, from its vantage point, soaring 62 miles or more above the ground, the world unfolds below like a living map. Its vision, a biological marvel, is estimated to be up to 8 times more powerful than that of a human. But how does it translate this incredible vision into a successful kill from such an impressive height? The answer lies not in a chase, but in a terrifying and calculated dive. Having locked onto its target, it folds its wings and enters a controlled and silent flight, a dark shape falling from the sky at immense speed. The final moments of its attack are a spectacle of aerodynamic precision and raw power. Just before impact, it swings its bright yellow feet and heavily taloned claws forward, the 4 black talons on each foot, spread like grappling hooks. These are its primary weapons. The rear talon, or hallux, is particularly long and sharp, capable of piercing flesh and bone. The strike is delivered with such concussive force that it can kill its prey instantly, breaking the spine of a young impala or crushing the skull of a guinea fowl in an instant. The sheer range of its prey is a testament to its power. Monitor lizards and mongooses to small baboons, and even the young of smaller antelope species, its prize is won. But now vulnerable on the ground, a new and perhaps more dangerous battle is about to begin. The eagle must work quickly, using its powerful beak and hook to tear its meal apart. Always scanning the horizon for the approach of 2 lions or hyenas with whom it must now compete. Always scanning the horizon for the approach of 2 lions or hyenas with which she must now compete. Her nest, a colossal platform of sticks built high atop a baobab tree. It is a dynastic fortress from which she raises a single precious chick. But in a world with such high infant mortality, what hope does this sole heir have of reaching adulthood and one day ruling the skies on its own? While the eagle dominates this vertical assault, another hunter has perfected a method of attack. On the ground, a bizarre dance that ends in a lethal ram strike. Marching across the grasslands with aristocratic gait is one of the most peculiar hunters of the Serengeti. The siriema, a huge terrestrial bird of prey, looks like a bizarre fusion of an eagle and a crane. But this strange appearance hides a highly specialized elimination technique. What is the secret behind its peculiar anatomy? Its long, slender legs give it an elevated perspective over the tall grass, while its sharp and hooked beak is pure raptor. Its most striking feature is the crest of long black feathers that form at the back of its head, said to resemble the legal clerks of the 19th century, who stuck pens in their wigs. But there is nothing clerical about its purpose here. This bird is a master snake-eater. It faces Africa's deadliest reptiles, creatures that can take down a buffalo. How can a bird armed only with its feet possibly hope to win such a dangerous duel? When it locates a snake, its calm walk becomes a tense and calculated dance of death. The bird uses its large wings as a shield and a distraction, opening them to confuse the snake, while its thick leg scales offer a degree of protection. Its elimination technique is a marvel of biomechanics, delivering a series of incredibly fast and powerful stomps aimed at the snake's head and spine. Each stomp can deliver a force more than 5 times the bird's own body weight, a brutal dispatch similar to a karate strike that shatters the snake's vertebrae. Once its victim is dead, the Serengeti often tosses it into the air several times before swallowing it whole. They form monogamous and lasting bonds, and their huge nests, a common feature of the landscape, the home of a regal and deadly ground patrol. And while the Serengeti may have mastered the art of snake elimination, another creature on the plains not only kills them, it eats them for lunch, treating their lethal venom as little more than a mild inconvenience. In a land of giants, perhaps the most feared hunter of all, pound for pound, is a modest-sized creature, but legendary ferocity, the honey badger. Its reputation for fearless aggression runs so deep it has become savanna legend. But is this reputation truly deserved? Or is there more to this creature than simple brute force? Every part of the honey badger is designed for conflict. It has thick, rubbery skin, so loose that if caught in a lion's jaws, it can twist inside its own skin and violently attack its aggressor's face. This skin can also resist bee stings, porcupine kills, and even venomous snake bites. It is an opportunistic and relentless hunter, capable of digging out a rodent's burrow with impressive speed. Its most famous skill, however, is its ability to hunt and kill vipers, puff adders, and snakes. It seems to have a high degree of immunity to their venom, and even if bitten, it often enters a temporary coma-like state for several hours before recovering and finishing its meal. But this leaves it completely defenseless. What protects it from being eaten by other predators? During these vulnerable moments, the answer seems to be only its fearsome reputation. Its other legendary feature is its partnership with the honey guide bird, which supposedly leads the honey badger to a wild hive. The badger then breaks open the hive to feast on the larvae and honey, leaving the leftovers for the bird. But is this a genuine alliance? Or is one of these creatures manipulating the other in a clever survival game? This creature of supreme confidence and indomitable will embodies the raw and untamable spirit of the Serengeti, while the honey badger relies on this pure force of will. The next pair of hunters depends on something much more refined, senses so sharp they border on the supernatural. Beneath the notice of the large herds, another, more subtle feline hunt is constantly underway. The most elegant of these specialists is the serval, a feline that seems to be made entirely of legs and ears. A strange and delicate design for a predator. What incredible advantage do these bizarre proportions provide? In the endless sea of grass, its slender body is perched on the longest legs of any cat relative to its size, allowing it to see over the vegetation. Its most notable features, however, are its enormous ears resembling satellite dishes that can rotate independently, acting as a hypersensitive acoustic location system. The serval hunts more by sound than by sight, listening with intense focus to the faintest noise of a mouse. Once it locates its prey, it performs a high arched leap, launching itself into the air and landing on its front paws, stunning its victim with incredible precision. Its cousin, the caracal, is a more powerful hunter of the drier forests, its identity unmistakable, thanks to the long tufts of black hair at the tips of its ears for generations. Its purpose has been debated a secret. The caracal keeps to itself. The true genius of the caracal lies in its astonishing acrobatic ability. Its powerful hind legs can launch it more than 10 feet into the air, and from a standstill, a skill that allows it to hunt in a dimension that other cats can only dream of the very air. A caracal will scare off a flock of guinea fowl, and with an unbelievable display of agility, leap among them, knocking several birds out of the sky. However, not all successful hunters of the Serengeti rely on feline grace or lethal pounce. Some thrive through a combination of loyalty, family, social ingenuity, and a diet that would surprise you. The family of canids in the Serengeti is represented by more than just the wild dog. The most charming of them is the bat-eared fox. It is a hunter, but its teeth are not for tearing flesh. It is a fox. But its main prey is not a rabbit or a bird. So what then does this enigmatic creature hunt? With its huge radar-like ears, the answer is insects. The bat-eared fox is primarily insectivorous. Its diet consists of termites, dung beetles, and their larvae. It hunts by slowly wandering, its head bowed, its huge ears scanning the ground like a sonic detector. Once it locates a food source, it digs furiously, catching insects with quick bites. They are gentle and highly social creatures whose existence is linked to the great herds of herbivores. As the dung and disturbed soil left in the wake of migration create a paradise for the insects on which they depend, a much more spitty resident is the black-backed jackal. It is often dismissed as a mere scavenger, a thief on the margins of the true hunt. But this is a profound underestimation of an animal whose intelligence allows it to fight far above its weight. What is the secret to the hidden success of the jackal? It is the ultimate opportunist, and it thrives through cooperation. Jackals form strong, monogamous, and lasting pair bonds, and this partnership is key to their hunting success. A pair of jackals will hunt cooperatively. With remarkable intelligence, one can distract a mother gazelle, while the other ambushes her hidden fawn. Their eerie calls are one of the most characteristic sounds of the African night. The voice of an animal that proves that, in the Serengeti, success can be defined as much by cunning and family loyalty as by brute strength. But what happens when the hunter is not uniquely intelligent, nor a loyal family, but an irrational monster of a million heads flowing like a river and consuming everything in its path? And what if the predator is not an animal, but an entire ecosystem mobilized for war? This is the reality of the most terrifying and least understood hunter of the Serengeti. The driver ant, locally known as siafu, witnessing its passage is to see the laws of the savanna, half of individual combat and individual strategy, dissolve into a horrifying tide of collective and unstoppable hunger. It is an army of millions, but has no general. It has a unique and voracious appetite, but no central brain. How can such a creature possibly exist, much less hunt with such terrifying efficiency? The answer lies in the concept of a superorganism, a colony of driver ants that can reach 20 million individuals is not a society. It is a single decentralized being. They have no permanent nest or central fortress to return to instead. The colony itself is the nest at night. They form a living camp, a twisted and pulsating ball of interconnected bodies with the queen and her precious brood, and protected deep in the core. But when the sun warms the ground, this living structure dissolves, and the hunt begins. The superorganism awakens, and a chill falls over the surrounding landscape that has nothing to do with the temperature. Small creatures stir, insects fly, and rodents leave their burrows, all fleeing from an enemy they can smell. And here, long before they see it, the assault begins as a single thick column, a dark, shiny band of living matter. Flowing through the undergrowth, it moves with a rustling and cracking sound, the noise of millions of tiny feet and clicking jaws. This central column can be over 65 feet wide and stretch for more than 330 feet. An unrelenting flow of workers flanked by their terrifying escort. These are the soldiers, a specialized caste of ants much larger than the workers. Equipped with huge scythe-like jaws, they march on the flanks and front antennae trembling, forming a living perimeter for the main attack group, their jaws wide open and ready for battle. Their grip is so powerful that in traditional Makai medicine, they are used as natural sutures, made to bite through a wound before their bodies are torn away, leaving the head in place like a stitch. But what is their true purpose in this assault? They are not just guards, they are the heavy cavalry. The shock troops whose role is to immobilize and dismember any prey too large for the smaller workers to handle. For anything caught in the path of the main swarm, there is no escape. The ants do not create strategies or select their targets, they simply consume the swarm, spreading a moving carpet of death that floods every crack, burrow, and blade of grass. Millipedes, beetles, scorpions, and spiders are the first to go, overwhelmed in an instant, but the colony's ambition is much greater. They invade ground-nesting bird nests. Consuming the defenseless chicks, they spill into the burrows of sleeping lizards and rodents. Even larger animals are not safe. One lethargic python after one large meal, or one newborn gazelle. Too weak to flee can be overcome. But how do millions of tiny insects take down a creature thousands of times their size? They attack its softest spots, and the eyes, the mouth, the nose, and inject a potent venom. But it is the pure, suffocating number of bites, the overwhelming and unified assault of the collective, that brings down the giant. The soldiers then move in their powerful jaws, cutting through skin and tendons, dismantling the carcass so the workers can carry the pieces back to the camp. Constantly moving, they are a force of primal destruction, leaving an apparently barren path in their wake. However, like wildfire, their role in this ecosystem, it is more complex than it seems. As they sweep through an area, they perform a vital, though brutal act of sanitation. They clean the forest floor of everything, removing parasites like ticks, expelling pests, and clearing carcasses that otherwise could spread disease. They are a reset button for the undergrowth, a terrifying but essential force of renewal. Watching them is a reminder that in the Serengeti, the rules of survival are infinitely diverse. There is room for the solitary patient leopard in its tree, for the cooperative family of jackals on the plains, and even for this, a blind, decentralized consciousness that hunts not with vision or cunning, but with the unshakable and mathematical certainty of overwhelming numbers. This force is often called the ecology of fear, a constant and nuanced assessment of risk that shapes the very landscape. Survival becomes a game of infinitesimal calculations where success is measured not just in speed or strength, but in sophisticated strategy. We observe a scene that seems deceptively peaceful. A mixed herd of zebras and gnus grazes with an appearance of calm. There are only a few. 100 feet away, a pride of lions sleeps in the shade. This is not ignorance. It is a precise and vital calculation of energy to run in a panic stampede at every sight of a predator. It would be a catastrophic waste of precious energy, so they maintain a fragile truce, but the atmosphere can shatter in an instant. It begins with a subtle change, a ripple of muscle along the flank of a lioness. As she rises, instantly the peace dissolves. A wave of tension spreads through the herd. 1,000 heads are now erect, 1,000 pairs of eyes and ears trained on the imminent threat. Their multi-layered defense system is now fully activated. The first line is collective vigilance. Zebras, with their sharp vision, detect movement. while GNUS, with their exceptional hearing and smell, detect sound and scent. Together, they create a formidable early warning system as the lions begin to move. The herd heads for open plains, trading richer grazing for the invaluable advantage of visibility. Ultimately, their greatest safety lies in the dilution effect, the simple statistical reality that in a huge group, the chances of any individual being singled out as a target are drastically reduced. The dizzying pattern of a zebra herd and in motion is also theorized to create a motion confusion effect, an optical illusion that makes it incredibly difficult for a charging predator to judge the speed and trajectory of a single animal. This relentless cycle of life and death, however, leaves one constant trail of mortality. How does an ecosystem of this scale avoid being overwhelmed by decay? The answer lies with the cleanup crew. Essential and efficient to the ecosystem, far from mere opportunists. These scavengers are the vital sanitation workers who maintain the health of the entire Serengeti. The most formidable member of this crew is the spotted hyena. Their reputation as mere scavengers is deeply misleading. They are incredibly powerful hunters, yet their most crucial ecological role is that of the savanna's undertaker, equipped with immensely powerful jaws capable of crushing the largest buffalo bones, and a stomach containing extraordinarily potent acid. They can consume and digest carcasses in advanced stages of decomposition, neutralizing pathogens like anthrax that would be lethal to almost any other animal. They leave almost nothing behind. From the skies above, another team of specialists keeps constant watch. Vultures are obligate scavengers whose role is completely irreplaceable, soaring on rising thermal air currents. Their exceptional vision allows them to spot a carcass miles away. A complex hierarchy exists at a deadly site. The imposing lappet-faced vulture, with its powerful hooked beak, often acts as the opener, tearing the tough hide to clear the way for numerous Ruppel's griffons and white-backed vultures, who plunge their long, thin necks deep into the carcass. Their digestive system is an evolutionary marvel, an acidic bath that neutralizes the deadliest bacteria. Completing this team is the black-backed jackal, often seen in monogamous pairs. They are consummate opportunists at a carcass, agile and fast, running to steal scraps right under the noses of their larger competitors. Together, these creatures form an indispensable sanitation network, fighting an invisible but constant battle against disease, and ensuring that nutrients trapped within the dead are quickly returned to the volcanic soil that started this whole story, ready to fuel the next cycle of life. Thus, the plains are cleaned by claws and beaks. Nutrients return to the ancient volcanic soil, ready for a renewal that seems impossible. Under the punishing bronze sky, a silent, expectant tension burns over the land, and the world holding its breath for this great renewal to happen, a force far greater than any animal must first respond to the silent call of the parched earth, a force that must travel thousands of miles from the distant Indian Ocean. October marks the peak of the dry season, the absolute crucible of survival. The Serengeti plains are baked to a fragile yellow straw under an unrelenting and merciless sun. The air is thick, with fine dust that covers everything and shimmering heat. Mirages dance on the horizon, creating illusions of water where there is only cracked and desperate earth. The great herds are a distant memory in the south, and for the residents who remain, this is a time of immense hardship. The Serengeti River has been reduced to a series of isolated, murky pools, where an uneasy truce holds elegant giraffes and their movements, slow and deliberate to conserve energy, awkwardly spread their legs in vulnerability to drink. Alongside bulky Cape buffalo, their ribs beginning to show beneath their thick hides. A deep lethargy settles over the predators. Lion prides spend almost all their time in the shade of the few remaining leafy trees, their breaths shallow and panting. Alone, thin but ever watchful cheetah, scans the landscape from a termite mound, knowing any chase must be a calculated risk, because the energy cost of a failed hunt can be fatal in the muddy remnants of the Grumeti River. Colossal Nile crocodiles lie in a state of torpor, their metabolism slowed to a crawl, patiently waiting for the feast they know will eventually return. The land is in suspended animation, waiting for release. Then, on the distant eastern horizon, a change begins, not as a vision, but as a subtle shift in the wind, a current of air carrying different moisture, a different promise. With it comes the distinct, earthy smell of rain falling on dry soil, petrichor, the deep perfume of thirsty earth finally receiving a drop of water. Clouds a shade, a deeper gray than any seen for months begin to gather, forming colossal thunderclouds shaped like anvils that seem to scrape the roof of the sky. The eventual eruption of a storm over the Serengeti is one of nature's most powerful and dramatic spectacles. Bright, terrifying forked lightning illuminates the entire landscape for a fraction of a second, followed by a rolling, concussive thunder that seems to shake the very foundations of the earth. The short November rains finally arrive, not as a gentle drizzle, but as powerful, life-giving downpours that soak the landscape, wash the dust from the air and awaken the dormant life within the soil. The first drops, they whistle as they hit the hot ground, and within minutes, the deluge turns the cracked earth into thick mud. This is the unmistakable signal, a trumpet call carried on the wind to the great herds in the north, to finally turn south and begin the long journey home. Having spent the past months grazing in the relative sanctuary of Kenya's Masai Mara, the herds are now driven by the same ancient instinct that led them north months before. Their return is a mirrored image of their departure, another colossal leg in their perpetual, circular pilgrimage. Their route takes them through the Lobo area in the northern Serengeti, a rugged and less visited region of the park, characterized by rolling hills, ancient granite kopjes, and extensive acacia woodlands. The migration here has a different character. It's not the frantic, desperate race against thirst that defined their journey north, nor the panicked chaos of river crossings. Instead, it's a slower, more gradual dispersal. A calmer, a more confident return home. Fragmented family groups of zebras, each led by a dominant stallion, begin to meet and merge once again. With the sound of their passage, a satisfied thunder, not a panicked stampede. In the late November and through December, the first columns of wildebeests and zebras begin to pour back onto the short grass plains of the south, the same place where their journey began. They arrive to find a transformed landscape. Reborn, the barren, dusty plains they fled months ago are now covered by a vibrant and incredibly lush carpet of new green grass. This is the reward, the ultimate prize promised by that ancient volcanic soil which, now soaked by the rains, has produced the most nutritious pasture on the entire continent. The Great Circle, a 1,000-mile journey, filled with danger and hardship, is finally complete. They have returned to their birthplace, the cradle of their species, ready to take advantage of the renewed abundance of the land and begin The sacred cycle of life once again on the plains. Once cleaned by scavengers and now replenished by the rains. They are ready for the final act, where the great circle of life proves it is ready to begin again. We return to where our story began. In the southern plains. Now a vast rolling sea of green shimmering under a benevolent African sun. The great herds have returned home, and their immense presence, a constant low hum vibrating in the air. The sound of millions of animals grazing contentedly. The end of their journey marked by this moment of deep peace and abundance. The air is full of life. Migratory birds have arrived from as far away as Europe and Asia. Elegant white storks patrol the grasslands in search of insects. And flocks of swallows perform dazzling aerial acrobatics in the clear sky. The resident animals, like Thompson's and Grant's gazelles, are sleek and healthy, their own young playing safely within the herd. Within weeks, in an overwhelming spectacle of synchronicity, a new generation of wildebeest calves will be born on these same plains, their lives destined to follow the same perpetual journey as their parents. The story of the Serengeti is the story of this deep and intricate interconnection. It is a dynamic and pulsing system where each unique element is intrinsically and irreversibly dependent on all the others, starting with the ancient soil, the pulverized volcanic rock. It provides the chemical foundation for life, dependent on seasonal rains and the celestial engine that sets the rhythm for everything that follows, fueled by the immense herds, the great converters, all that transform the energy of grass into movement and biomass that powers the entire ecosystem. This energy then flows to the legions of predators, cooperative lions, solitary leopards, swift cheetahs, tenacious hyenas, and altruistic wild dogs, and the specialized river guardians like the patient crocodile. The entire system is regulated and kept healthy by ever-watchful scavengers, from vultures soaring overhead to humble dung beetles, ensuring that nothing is lost. Every chase, every birth, every death is a transaction in a vast and interconnected energy economy. The battle for survival that so defines this place is not, in the end, a war with winners and losers. It is a process, the immense creative force that shapes every behavior, forges every social bond, sharpens every instinct, and keeps the engine of one of the planet's last true natural wonders running at full capacity. It is a powerful and humble reminder that in the unyielding logic of nature, nothing is truly wasted. Even in the finality of death lies the certain and absolute promise of renewal. The circle is complete, but it never stops turning as we watch a newborn wildebeest calf, slippery and unsteady, take its first trembling steps, its slender legs steadying on the same volcanic soil that has nourished its ancestors for 1,000,000 years, and in its dark, innocent eyes reflects the vast sky dotted with clouds promising the next rains, ensuring that while this chapter ends, the story of the Serengeti has no final page. So after all this drama, all this life and death, what is the one lesson this land teaches us? That the battle for survival is a misconception. It's not about individuals winning. It's about the entire system enduring. The lion, the wildebeest, the grass, the vulture, all of them part of a single breathing organism. Every death is a transfer of energy that ensures the whole can live another day. The true victory here is the very turning of the circle,